Since 2021, there have been more than 1,500 decisions to ban books in public schools nationally. Florida and Pennsylvania have been among the most aggressive in this action. As schools are back in session across the nation, protesters in one Pennsylvania district want to ban the groups that support the book bans. That's right, they want to ban the banners. Protesters want lawmakers to pass two bills that were introduced earlier this year. The bills were aimed at protecting books from being removed from library shelves for political and ideological reasons. School libraries have been targeted by groups and lawmakers who claim the books contain explicit material that should not be available to young children. And there are some who argue these book bans go too far and are a form of censorship. Joining me now to discuss this is Nakima Levy Armstrong. She is a civil rights attorney. She's also an educator. She's also the founder of Moms for Liberation, a group that makes its mission to fight against book bans. Welcome to the griot. Moms for Liberation is a hell of a good name. I see what you did there. I know that Moms for Liberty has been a right-wing group of people posing to be concerned parents going around the country undermining educational policy. So you started your own thing, Moms for Liberation. You sprinkled some Lowry's on it, made it black, and made it freedom fighting. Tell me why you're so passionate about it.
Well, I'm passionate as a mom. I have 4 children, and I see personally the impacts and the importance of being able to read what they want to read and being able to unpack that information with my children. Also, as a young person growing up in South Central LA, I really thrived as a result of being able to read well, to be able to access my local public libraries as well as my school libraries and librarians. So what I see happening now is an assault on our freedoms, our civil liberties, and our civil rights, as well as our ability as parents to make decisions on behalf of our children.
Why are these book bans happening? Give me the kind of aerial, big picture view of why suddenly, after decades of there being some censorship, some book bans, some outrage, we're now seeing it as a right-wing political and educational priority.
Absolutely. I think we have to be aware of the fact that what's happening with book bans right now across the nation and in key states, as you mentioned earlier, is a part of a well-funded and well-coordinated attack on our civil rights and our civil liberties. I find it interesting that those who are attempting to ban books have ratcheted up their efforts in the midst of COVID-19, in the aftermath of our demonstrations around the police killing of George Floyd, and in the aftermath of the January 6th attack on our nation's capital. And so all of these things, from my perspective, are interrelated and interconnected. And it is not, unintentional. It is by design. We have had groups such as Moms for Liberty, which you mentioned earlier, that has over 200 chapters around the country of women who are claiming that they are standing up for parents when in reality, they are perpetuating a right-wing agenda meant to stifle us, meant to erase some of the gains that we've made in the past, and meant to control what books we are able to access as well as our children are able to access.
Talk to me about the consequences, of these bans. What's at stake when our children don't have access to literature of certain sorts, history books of certain types, even maybe certain kinds of conversation about the history books and the novels that we read? What happens? What's at stake?
Well, I think that our freedom of expression, our freedom to read whatever we want to read is at stake as a result of these book bans. Children, as you know, are naturally curious, and books provide a window into what's happening into the world as well as different perspectives. I don't think that it's an accident that almost 40% of the books that have been banned has a person of color as a key figure in a particular book. And then the fact that some of our beloved authors, such as Toni Morrison, Bell Hooks, and others who have made such an impact on our Black literary history, have books that have been banned. As a matter of fact, earlier this year, Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, Between the World and Me, was actually banned in South Carolina after being read in an AP class. And the reason that that book was banned was because the white students said that the book made them feel guilty about being white. And so we had Ta-Nehisi Coates show up at a school board meeting and speak truth to power, challenging this notion of censorship and the denial of access to different perspectives and information that is being withheld from our students as a result of this book banning phenomenon.
Talk to me finally about what people can do to support your organization.
Well, I would encourage folks to join our page on Instagram, Moms for Liberation. For is spelled out FOR. It's a source of information for people and engagement around these issues. We will also be launching chapters around the country, particularly for moms as well as allies who want to join the fight against book bans and to protect our history as African Americans in this country and those who care about freedom, justice, and equality. I also want to remind folks that National Book Banning Week is happening October 1st through October 7th. And through that particular week, it's an opportunity to educate ourselves about the books that have been banned, check out books, to purchase books that have been banned, including picture books like Hair Love and other books that our children should enjoy. And folks should begin to get involved. If you're in a jurisdiction where books are being banned, it's time to speak up, mobilize folks, write letters, and educate ourselves about what's happening in order to fight back.
That's it. Organized people defeat organized power every time. But we only get what we organize for. That's why I'm so glad for you, Nakima, and the work you all do with Moms for Liberation. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll be sure to stand with you. Her activism doesn't end here. Nakima is currently featured in the Hulu documentary Sound of the Police that's streaming online. Make sure you check it out. All right, family, we have reached the end of the show, but before I let you go, I want to point out the brilliance and the beauty of what that sister Nakima is doing right now. She started an organization called Moms for Liberation. And what that organization does is not just fight against book bans. It doesn't just create legislation, but it is a model of what is possible when we organize. The right is winning the educational battle right now. We got to be honest about that. Books are getting banned. School boards are getting overtaken. Curricula is getting deleted and replaced with whitewashed history. And the reason is because they didn't do it at a moment's notice. They took over state houses. They joined school boards. They changed laws. They spread information, misinformation, and disinformation, whatever needed to be done to make sure that they were put in positions of power, not just at the national level, but at the regional, the state, and the local level. They built up an infrastructure to be able to take over the world. It's the same thing they did with reproductive rights. It's the same thing they've done with transgender bathrooms. So what we're going to do now is we're going to build organizations, but also, y'all, we're going to join organizations, and we are going to create a long-term strategy for taking back our schools. That means we don't reject every solution that doesn't fix it overnight. It means we don't expect magic in an election year. It means we are committed to decades of hard work to give our children what they need, what they deserve, and that is liberation.